It's the most wonderful time of year, the World Juniors. Biggest snub? Top dark horse team? Top player to watch not on Canada. We got it all on our World Juniors Superlatives Tournament preview. And as much as I'd personally like to ignore what's happening in the NHL, we'll talk about who's been the biggest disappointment in the Atlantic. Guess who? Getting emotionally charged up in Vancouver, and if it's already lights out at Madison Square Garden, home of the world's most famous trade lists. And welcome to the home of the BarDown Podcast, presented by Crown Royal.
If you're not fired up after hearing that intro, check your pulse. Honestly, let's go. And speaking of World Juniors, it's been a couple busy weeks. We got to film some stuff with some of the World Juniors players, and that'll be coming out, keep an eye out for it, I guess.
Usually you guys just kind of get to interview them and whatnot, but you actually got on the ice with a number of them, which is always exciting. You can do more that way.
Yeah, it's amazing to think how far we at BarDown have come in terms of our involvement with the World Juniors. It's amazing, and had a really good time with the players, and it's going to make for some good content.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But why don't we just hop right into it, guys? The superlatives for this year's tournament. It's genuinely, as a hockey fan, one of the best times of the year. We're not just saying this because it's a TSN thing. Yes, that's part of why we're doing this, but in reality, you would be watching this tournament if you're a hockey fan at this point. It's pretty fun to ignore what's happening, as I said, in the big leagues right now. It's all about the future. It's all that. You too.
Yeah, and I can't talk. I was gonna kind of, give it to you, but I can't. I can't say anything.
No, you're looking right now at. Oh, look at me.
We got a big matchup tomorrow night.
That's a
Sabres Habs?
That's a bum fight.
Wow.
That's a bum
The
fight.
battle for 31st in the league.
You should wear the other person's jersey because you probably want your team to lose that game.
Get your popcorn ready.
I just had enough of losing, man.
Do you even have any Habs jerseys?
I have a Jesper Kotkaniemi jersey.
Oh yeah, we've been over this.
That's so dark.
Let's slide out of that. You know what I mean, you had a good World Juniors, no?
I don't know if he had a good anything.
It's really harsh. All right.
He had a good playoff run with the Habs.
I actually like Jesper Kotkaniemi.
When they went to the
Sorry.
cup, he was
Doesn't
scoring.
sound
I don't
like
know
it
if you
all.
do
No,
like
he had a
it.
good playoff.
It has never once sounded like he liked it.
I have his jersey. He was my favorite player for a long time.
Let's start out with biggest snub for roster selection. Thomas, why don't you go for it? Since, again, you're going to be scouting these guys a lot closer than maybe these two.
I am going to be doing some serious scouting during the World Juniors, and I'm excited to watch a lot of these players. But my biggest snub is someone who's already been drafted, and that's Zane Parekh. Not making the Canada team. He actually wasn't even invited to camp originally, and then I guess they had some extra space, and he ended up getting invited, but he didn't make the team. And I just think the reigning CHL Defenseman of the Year, a top 10 pick in the NHL draft, someone who is such an exciting offensive talent on the blue line, for him to not make the team, I don't know. It was a little bit surprising. I understand, maybe they're going for more of a well-rounded lineup, and with Parekh, maybe there's some concerns defensively, but he is just so skilled and such a good player that for me to not see him on this list, it was a little surprising.
All right, well, biggest snubs continuing. Jesse, who do you got?
You talk about power play and offensive upside, and I just don't know what else Andrew Crystal could have possibly done to make this team. Going into camp, he had 51 points in 21 games with Kelowna this year. I'm pretty sure we're saying he almost made the Capitals, didn't he? At a camp, he came pretty close. Yeah, he's been on a ridiculous pace offensively this year, and I don't know, even just throw a guy like that in your rotation to help with your power play. Clearly, such great offensive upside. I don't know. I guess he's relatively small, not as good of a skater, but clearly his hockey IQ is off the charts. And I just feel like having a guy like that on your team is valuable than having maybe a couple of other players who play similar roles on a team.
Luca, biggest snub.
I'll go with another forward from Canada, and I think Canada's kind of the main theme for all of us, just because while we're filming this, U.S. hasn't officially announced their roster yet, like you said. So there are probably more snubs from there that people will point to watching this. But I'll go with Beckett Seneca from the Ottawa Generals, top 5 pick to the Ducks. And I know that was a bit of a shocker, the draft day moment or whatever, but he's such a skilled forward. And I think the thing that maybe surprises me about him, I mean, not even initially being invited to camp, but then getting the invite and not making it, is the built-in chemistry with Callum Ritchie. Those two play together in Oshawa. They have lit it up in Oshawa for a while now. And so whenever you bring a lot of players that haven't played together in a tournament like this, I feel like chemistry and growing pains are kind of the thing that comes with it a little bit at the beginning, at least. So to have a guy like Seneca and Richie, potentially you could have played them on the same line and maybe bypass some of those growing pains of getting to play with players you haven't before. Not to mention, again, highly skilled player. Everyone's going to kind of point to like that highlight reel goal he scored around Sam Dickinson, actually, another Canadian defenseman who did make the team. But that's the type of player he is, and his offensive upside is incredible. Just a puzzling one for sure.
Well, there's 10 teams in the tournament. We've already talked a bunch about Canada, but I want you guys to think deep here now, because I want you to tell me who the player is to watch that is not Canadian. We'll start with Luca this time.
Okay, I'm going to go with St. Louis Blues first-round draft pick Dalibor Dvorsky for Slovakia. He's played at a few World Juniors before, highly skilled player, and he, I think, out of a lot of these guys that have gotten a taste of NHL and AHL action right now, almost a point per game in the AHL right now, so incredibly impressive for such a young player. Slovakia is obviously going to rely on him quite a bit for production, and I think he's going to deliver in all areas. If you've watched some of his highlights with the AHL team this year, had an OT winner where he like toe drags around someone and just rips it. Just really good player. So I know that people probably aren't watching this tournament for Slovakia, but Blues fans in particular, who they've made a coaching change and the team has responded to that a little bit, but you see the development of guys like Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. This guy could be the next guy in line joining that young offensive core.
Yeah, he's wicked. He can rip the puck.
Yeah.
And Slovakia was pretty good last year, too. Like, they started the tournament off really well, so I really like that pick. I'm going to go to the U.S., and a part of me really, really wants to say Zeev Boyum because he was so incredible last year, and like I just know he's going to be maybe the best defenseman in the tournament this year. But I'm actually going to go the forward, and I'm going to say Gabe Perreault. I think he's going to be the best forward in the tournament this year. I think he's going to get the most points. I think he's going to put his skill on full display. He's been unbelievable in Boston College 2 years in a row now. And another guy, James Haggins, is another guy to watch because, you know, Leonard and Pro are coming back, and I'd imagine Haggins is going to be centering them. But I just think last year Pro had 10 points in 7 games. He's a year older now. This is really his tournament to shine and show everyone that the Rangers got a serious steal with him later in the first round. And, yeah, I think he's going to put up, like, ridiculous stats this year.
I'm going to go over and talk about Sweden. And when we look at this country, we always talk about the great defensemen that they've had. Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, guys like that can really anchor the blue line, these great skaters. And the Detroit Red Wings have a prospect by the name of Axel Sandin Pellikka, which is a very, very cool name to begin with. Yeah. Fell a little bit to them in the draft. A lot of people thought he would have gone earlier in 2023 over there. But they got him at 19th overall. I think he's going to be very, very dynamic for Sweden and a big reason why this team has a shot to go all the way. So I think he's someone to look out for me.
I think you just reminded me why the World Juniors also makes you very sad still, because I was hoping he fell even further, and now he does even better. It's another reminder of what you don't have in the cupboards, but it's okay.
He's so good, and I'm pretty sure he's playing in the Swedish Hockey League. Yeah. He's almost a point-per-game guy as a defenseman. Crazy. Like, he is going to be – love that pick. He's going to be an all-star. And as critical as we are about the Red Wings – that's a good one. That's what we're really excited about.
Hit on 3 defensemen potentially with Edvinsson, with Seider, and with him. It's a great core to build around.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if we've necessarily, other than maybe with Luca's pick, really talked about some of the dark horse teams at all as of yet. But let's get into that one right now. Who do you guys think could be a dark horse pick to do well in the tournament? Doesn't necessarily mean winning gold, but maybe even appearing in that final or obviously appearing in that bronze medal game. Who do you guys have as your pick? I'll start with you again, Thomas.
Well, Luca mentioned a little bit with Dalibor Dvorsky. I'm going to say Slovakia, and I think we've seen kind of like this resurgence, not necessarily a resurgence, but this almost renaissance for the country in hockey. Like Juraj Slavkovsky going first overall, Dalibor Dvorsky being a first-round pick, Philip Meshar being a first-round pick. Like, they've just had a lot of talent enter the NHL draft in recent years, and we've seen a bit of progression for them in the World Junior Tournament. But if you look at them this year, They got a bit of an older team, which I think helps. A lot of these younger countries that don't have this big pool of players to select, you kind of have to pick and choose your years of when you feel like you have a really good shot for a medal. And the fact that, you got a lot of 19-year-olds on this team, it's encouraging. So I'm very excited to watch them play, and I think they can maybe play a role. We saw Czechia almost win gold a couple years ago. I'd love to see Slovakia go on a run.
So it's kind of weird because I think the clear 3 frontrunners are Canada, U.S., Sweden. But I'm gonna go with Finland, and I know Finland's not really in that golden era anymore of when they had Laine and Aho and even when Ristolainen scored that goal, you're okay, Finland is very legit. They're not in as good of a stage right now in terms of their younger players. But I think when you have a guy like Konsta Helenius leading the way, your boy, having a good season this year with Rochester, I think he's going to be one of the best players of the tournament. There's just something about Finland. They didn't look very good at the beginning of the tournament last year. But then, as the tournament progressed, they just got better and better. And they just have that chip, that underdog chip on their shoulder. And I just feel like they just always find a way to play well together. So I'm going to go with Finland. And I also just like cheering for Finland.
I hope he has a great tournament because it's definitely already started. People being bring him up, might as well, give him a shot, see what he's like at this level. It's not like we're playing for anything.
Let him develop.
Anymore. So, let him develop. I agree. I think keep him away.
Yeah.
Actually, for a little while, let him develop. Luca,
I'm gonna pick Slovakia as well for a lot of the reasons the Puck outlined, and I know, we haven't really talked about Sweden because and I know some of the other categories here already, so I wish they could be viewed as a dark horse team, but they just truly cannot. Obviously, after making the final last year and just having so many talented players, first-round picks on that squad, it would kind of be cheating to say them as a dark horse, as much as I think I wanted to, and probably you guys wanted to talk about them as well. So for any Swedish fans out there, this isn't us just trying to avoid talking about Sweden. It's
Trey Kroner. Sorry. 3 crowns.
Sweet, yeah.
That.
My girlfriend
did you actually not know that? Did you not know that's what he was saying?
No.
Oh, really?
The way he said it sounded like a Division II college running back in the NCAA. Trey Kroner.
It did sound a bit North American.
I thought he was talking about a player there for sure.
Trey.
My kid Trey Kroner.
It's a sick name.
Trey Kroner.
Elite name.
That's a
Trey
elite name.
That's Trey Kroner right there.
That's actually a sick name.
Actually, it's a sick name.
I'm not even kidding. If Emily and I go all the way, naming our kid. I didn't mean it in that sense. I meant if we go all the way until we get married.
3 Crown Pollock on the Crown Royal podcast.
Wow, look at that. Are you going to say it? No, you can't. Trey Kroner.
That's actually Trey Kroner.
And Kroner.
Insane.
Wow. Genius.
They honestly have the best international jerseys next to Canada, which I have to say.
I will say, though, they got to go back to the lighter blue. They
have,
I
agree.
Darker blue.
I agree. I like the dark too, but as an alternate, not as keep using.
The thing with them is they can just wear the yellow every single game.
Yeah, because the yellow is just
doesn't clash.
They'll
just
never
wear it every
clash.
game.
Yeah, the yellow's signature.
All right. Well, another team that doesn't fit the dark horse category is Canada, and I know that you guys are probably assuming that's where we're going to spend most of our time chatting. It's not true, but we do have to spend some time on it because there's a lot of exciting players on there. So what I'm going to start you guys off with is the top Canadian to watch on the team. Now, it's already probably been mentioned a little bit, but go ahead.
I think Canada this year in particular, it's pretty rare when I call them cage players just because they're underagers. They still got to wear a cage. It's always funny when you see these young kids and everyone's wearing a visor.
McDavid had the cage.
Those are the guys that stand. I remember when Dahlin was in the World Juniors.
The cage.
When I see someone like that, I'm like, this is going to be a really, really good NHLer one day because of the fact that they're already at this level. So Canada has 3 of them this year, and that's very exciting. The one I want to focus on is Porter Martone. He could be the first overall pick in this year's NHL draft. If he's not, he'll probably go in the top 3. Big winger, that typical power forward with a lot of skill. He's absolutely tearing up the OHL right now with the Brampton Steelheads. And the reason why I really wanted to talk about him is because we got to meet him this past weekend in Ottawa. And this guy I don't know if I've ever met anyone who loves hockey more than this guy. And the way his teammates were talking about him.
What do you mean? Describe. How could you kind of tell that from him?
He is just lives and breathes the sport. They say he constantly is talking about the NHL, the OHL, always checking the score. It's just that's what he just loves to do. Yeah, he's like a hockey nerd. That's how they were talking about.
Yeah. To add on to that, we actually, upcoming little teaser, did 94 questions with Porter Martone, and all his answers were hockey related. And like
Guy just loves
he loves the game. It's
Get him on a quiz.
And obviously this isn't the case, but when you talk to him, it's almost like he doesn't really. There's not much else in his. No, like seriously, it's like all of his knowledge in
He's
life.
dialed in that direction.
Yeah, and of course he's smart and he's an amazing player, but like all of his knowledge he focuses towards hockey. And I guess if you want to be such a good player, that's kind of
Be obsessed with your craft.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he is a very, very good player. Like I said, he can score. He's a great skater. Like that typical power
Nice.
forward that you want, and he's big too. So as an underager, he doesn't really play like one. Whereas before you've seen guys, he's a little bit smaller because he's younger. That's not the case with Porter Martone, and I think he can be an instant impact. I think Mark Masters said that he was listed in practice on the second line right now. This guy's gonna play important minutes for this team, and I think he can be an impact player. They're not gonna shelter him just because he's a little younger than most of the players at the tournament.
So losing streak's 10 games, which is like pretty good if you want to be low in like the rankings.
Does anyone wear number 94 on the Sabres?
No, that's
There you
free.
go.
Number's free.
Number's free,
I know
Porter.
who's wearing it next year.
He could suit the Buffalo. Man, imagine him and Tage Thompson on the same line like that. They would do some
Powerful
damage.
players right there.
Probably no playoffs.
so excited for the draft this year too.
He's also
We've
very
gotten
excited.
we've gotten to know some of these guys, and it's gonna be like potentially 20 CHL guys taken in the first round.
That's
this year.
crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of guys.
It's
Lots of guys.
yeah, back to an old era. Jesse, who are you looking forward to?
Speaking of crunching big minutes and a player who might go first overall this year, I'm going to go with, from your Erie Otters, defenseman Matthew Schaefer. I've been hearing a lot of names like Porter, incredible player, Michael Misa, incredible player. Like got to go to the top prospects game. And for me personally, I was the game that I saw in London, without a doubt, the most impressive player on the ice was Matthew Schaefer. I actually didn't even think it was close.
Really?
That's just one game at least. You'll remember he had that crazy end-to-end rush. I think that this is like a welcome to, like, if you don't know who Matthew Schaefer is, you're about to become very aware of who he is. This is going to be like, I think he's going to be crunching in top 4 minutes as an underager. That's really impressive at a tournament like this. He's big, he's fast, has a great shot, he's got great hands, and he's also just a tremendous, I guess I can call him kid because he's not 18 yet. he's a tremendous dude. Like, we met Matthew when he was 15 and just got drafted. Just this nice kid. Next time we see him, he's like literally 2 inches tall, or like probably 3-4 inches taller. And he's just an awesome kid, and he's like someone, when you meet him, I know Luca, we talked about this, he's like someone that you cheer for after meeting him once. And really cheering for him to have a good tournament. Him and Porter are both beauties, and I personally, I think if a team is looking for a number 1 defenseman, like franchise guy to build around, I think this is a guy that is a no-brainer for number 1 overall pick.
Okay, well, Luca, who do you have in your pick there?
No disagreements there. I don't want to go with an underager because I think the obvious one would be just say Gavin McKenna and just kind of be done
Cage
with
kids.
it. Cage kids, I know. It'd be the third
I don't know
cage
if I like
kid.
that term.
Yeah, that's...
Cage kids?
Don't like it
They're
either.
like
now that-
cages.
Like, I totally
Yeah, no, I
understand
get
it,
it, but
and it's
like-
like funny, but it seems dark.
Cage the elephant, Cage the kid.
Cage-
No,
What about the
I think
Bubble
that-
Boys?
I like Bubble Boys,
Yeah,
but
they
they
don't
wear
wear
a
bubbles.
cage.
Like from
but they-
Seinfeld.
But they wear a cage.
But I'd wear a bubble.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go with Gavin McKenna because I'm sure...
Who's your favorite caged kid?
Yeah, I'm changing it to Bubble Boy.
But he doesn't wear a
Doesn't
bubble.
wear a bubble.
The Bubble Boy.
But it doesn't work.
Also saying bubble weird. Let's move on.
It's not Gavin McKenna for me.
Bubble boy.
You're going to hear a lot about him. He's an incredible player. Watch highlights with him. We were on the ice with him. That's one of the videos I'll tease at. Honestly, we did a huck card with him. He's incredible. His hands are just out of this world, and how he can move the puck while skating like that. Like, he's just so good. But may not play enough minutes. Like, right now he's on the 4th line in practice. And I know it's early. Like, haven't even played pre-competition games, so that could change a lot. But I'll go with a guy that probably is expected to do a little more. I'll go with Easton Cowan, Leafs draft pick on a 50-plus game point streak. Like, all he does is record points, make plays, score goals. Last year, I think, was a little bit of a disappointing tournament for him at the World Juniors. Only a couple points in 5 games. So, a bounce-back tournament for him. He's slotting in on the first line right now with Callum Ritchie as the center, and that winger spot has changed a little. McKenna was actually on there a couple days ago, but now he's not. But I think when you're looking at the players that they're relying on to provide consistent offense, it's hard not to look past him just because of the point streak. And he just produces everywhere he's been. So I know Leafs fans are obviously very excited about watching him. I think the knock against him is always his size and just how he's a little undersized. But the Leafs have had some success with London Knights that are undersized. I think Easton Cowan's probably the next guy that
Max Domi
in that line. Max Domi.
Speaking of which, so we actually got an email from Mark Masters talking about the hit that he just took. He got his clock cleaned? Is that the term? No. He got smoked. But when he was asked about it,
one of the wild.
Turn to ask the fellas.
It is clock clean.
He
got his clock clean. But
it was clean.
That's like your bell rung kind of thing.
Yes. But when he was asked about it, he handled it with extreme maturity. He just said, "You know what? It was a clean hit. I got caught with my head down.
That clock was clean.
Definitely gonna learn from the experience, and good for him. It was a clean hit, and he just owned it. And you know what? Also, I know we were talking about it before, Luca. This guy's on a 56-game point streak. This has got to be one of the most impressive point streaks literally in the entire world right now in all of sports. It could, man, I'm not even kidding. 56 straight points with a goal, or with a point, sorry. It's insane.
I think you could still say it's a tremendous record without necessarily putting it to that pantheon, only because it's if it's at the pro level.
It's not
Not to say it's still impressive. It's still incredibly impressive, taking nothing away from it. I just mean it's at a junior level. I could probably find a bunch of U21 soccer stats that are pretty insane, because the second it steps up, it's different.
I know. Just 56 games is so nuts.
Okay, why don't we move on to one bold prediction from you guys here. I want one bold prediction for the tournament from you fellas. Jesse, we're going to start with you this time.
Love it. You know what? Because we got to go bold, I'm just going to say it. How about Gavin McKenna leading Team Canada in points?
What, did he take his?
Oh, there's Pox.
Well, I'll raise you one more. I said he's going to lead the whole tournament in points.
Okay, I think that's too bold, because I honestly think...
If you're going to say leads Team Canada in points, how's that too bold?
Not only took yours, took the sauce off.
Because I think Gabriel Perreault is actually going to just destroy the tournament this year. It's just a feeling I'm getting. It's just a feeling.
My question with you about Gabriel Perreault is why are you so high on him as opposed to someone like Ryan Leonard?
Because I think Perreault... I think Leonard's also amazing.
But I know, but you just been so
because I think offensively, Gabe Perreault is a stronger player. I think Ryan Leonard makes up in other places that Gabe Perreault can't. I think Ryan Leonard could be a little more physical. He's stronger than Gabe Perreault. Gabe Perreault's a pretty frail. No, I don't know if frail's the right word, but he's not. He
could get his clock clean pretty nicely.
No, he's slender, but man, he's so
the cleanest clock.
The cleanest clocks in the game. He's so skilled, man. He's gonna last year he was so good in this tournament, and this year he's now a year older, playing against younger kids than him. He's gonna be amazing. But I think that there's but we've seen it with Bedard. He's dominated with Canada as an underager. And I just feel like McKenna, this guy leads the CHL in points.
Yeah,
60 points in 30 games. I just feel
and he's a bubble boy.
He's a bubble boy.
He's not a bubble boy.
He's not a rat in a cage.
No, he's a rat in a cage.
I think he'll bubble.
I think he'll rat in a cage.
He'll bubble up. All right,
bold.
Luca, what's yours?
Those are very bold. God, well, I was gonna say Gavin McKenna one too, but now I can't.
You guys are cowards. This is all the same thing.
Yeah, because that's about as bold as you can be.
Somebody clean this guy's clock.
An underage player leading the tournament or even the team in points is pretty unprecedented.
Spicy.
It's spicy.
But it's already over here. We've got two orders. You got to balance out the wing order.
I'll go with Z Boyum leading all players in points. That, as a defenseman, probably tough, but he's so offensively talented, and he's got just so much swagger and confidence to his game, and that was playing in a hostile environment in Sweden in the final. Those are the closing shots that I remember from the World Juniors last year, of just him being so dominant and just absolutely breaking everyone in Sweden's hearts. So just another year under his belt. He's been so good in the NCAA this year and even last year as well. Let's say him to lead the tournament.
And I'm going to go with Kazakhstan winning the whole thing.
Yes. Wow, that is as bold as you can be.
No one said it had to be right.
Literally as bold as you can be.
This guy's bold.
Where you heard it. Well, that's it. That's it for our juniors preview. How about a prediction? Who you guys think's winning the whole thing? I know we didn't talk about best team, but I think we got to get on to some other things here as well. And I just want you to give your pick for who will win the whole thing. That's pretty much as good as saying who you think the best team is. So,
Scorching hot take. I think Canada's going to win.
terrible.
I think Canada's going to win. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. No. It's the team's way better than it was last year. It's going to be close with the U.S., but the U.S. lost while the U.S. probably has a worse team than last year, Canada has a way better team. And if you look at the U.S., like as good as they are, they also lost Cutter Gauthier, Rutger McGroarty, Jimmy Snuggerud, Gavin Brindley, Frank Nazar, like all of Lane Hudson, like all these studs. But they do have Trey Augustine in net, and he is another guy we didn't even mention. Like he's probably going to be the best goalie of the tournament. Like no question.
I thought the reason, like I was being genuine when I said really, I thought you were going to pick the U.S.
No, I mean, man, they've lost a lot. Like last year's U.S. team, we're going to look back at and be like, this is one of the best World Juniors teams ever.
Luca, your
I
pick.
don't know how I can follow that.
Well, you are. Regardless.
I have to now.
This guy's cleaned his clock.
Pick Sweden.
My clock is absolutely. I was gonna pick Sweden, but like that seems more like a bold prediction than who I actually feel like is gonna win the tournament. For all the reasons you guys laid out, like I think Canada's got the best team in the best position to win. I mean, people are just gonna be like, you guys are tooting your own horns, patting yourselves on the back. Canada this, Canada that. Last year was bad. This year, I feel like is going to be a big bounce back.
All right. Well,
one more bold prediction too, and not to put too much pressure on him. I think Matthew Schaefer is going to emerge as the best defenseman for Canada at the tournament. That's a bold prediction.
okay. I love it. You know, feel caught up on the World Juniors. And if you feel like you're also caught up, why not like the video? You know what? Also, as you see, we got a BarDown YouTube channel. So subscribe if you're enjoying this. We do the podcast. We try to do it once a week. The only reason we're not here next week is because we're in holiday season, I believe, from there. So
yes, but we will have a bit of a podcast that we're pre-taping that's not going to be about the NHL right away. It's going to be a tier list.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. We are not disappearing, but we are doing something where it's a bit more of like a tier list, and we'll probably talk about the NHL from more of a macro view, and you'll be like, why did they mention the game from the night before? Yeah. It's like, well, it's because we recorded this week.
Yeah.
That's how that works sometimes. But thank you for watching. We appreciate that. And we're going to move on to Don't Think, Just Tweet. Let's see. I haven't even really thought of who I want to answer what here, because I've added some here. Thomas made a little bit of a list. You know, some of them were nice. He's looking at the list right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not peeking.
Was it as good as his goal of the year list?
Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there from his
goal of the decade,
disgraceful performance in that.
Goal of the century.
You know what? We'll go with Jesse here because he's a pretty, light-hearted opinion of the Leafs. With the Leafs having seemingly solved their goaltending issues, where would you rank them amongst cup contenders currently? Top of the Atlantic as we're recording this.
Hey, look, you guys know I don't like the Leafs at all, but I'm not going to be an idiot here. Like, the Leafs have a good team. They're playing really well. Like, their top guys are performing at a very elite level, and they have the goaltending this year. Like, Stolarz has been incredible, and they're stronger defensively. I'm really curious to see what they do at the deadline. I'm trying to think of, they're definitely top 5, in my opinion.
It's a long tweet again, but top 5.
Like, I think about it, I think Vegas and Dallas are probably 2 teams that are better than them. As much as I'd love to say the Jets, we've lost 8 straight to them, so it's hard for me to really justify that one.
See, he's not a homer.
And then I guess Carolina would be another team.
Or Florida.
And then Florida. And then I'd probably say that's probably my main company. And I'm going to say the Jets are still in that conversation.
Sure.
What they've been doing has been very impressive. And if Colorado's healthy, I think they absolutely can do damage. As we saw, they worked the Jets last year in the first round. And once they get healthy and they get in, I think they can be a dangerous team. But yeah, I'd probably Minnesota too.
That's the longest. All right, we're moving on.
So half the league is contending, but the
Leafs,
Leafs
you guys are good, but here's
you
don't feel different.
I'm not gonna say top 7 because I just at the same time I need
top 5.
No, I need to see them. I need to see them doing the playoffs.
But because they're built in a different way this year, do you feel
I believe
differently?
in them a little more.
Okay, because I kind of feel the same.
But
their goalies actually kind of scare me.
Your goalies, you have good goaltending.
Yeah,
it's just something that they have not. Yeah, and but again, even when we get to the playoffs, what have we seen as a common theme for the Leafs? That it's their forwards that actually are letting them down. They're not getting enough scoring. So
which is also reared its head this season already. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
They're winning in different ways.
It's kind of one of those, let's wait and see what happens. But I think as a Leafs fan, you have a lot more reason to feel confident this year than past years.
So
Jesse's
top 12,
top 5, but sliding.
Top 7, for sure.
top 9.
But
Top 7, but there's also 12 teams.
Moving on.
like St. Louis made some moves. No, I'm just kidding.
Moving on. We're gonna go to Luca for this one because he doesn't. His takes on the Canucks super lukewarm. If you were a Canucks fan,
Edmonton. Sorry. Edmonton for sure is in there.
For sure in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Washington,
Maybe, I'll say the top 10.
the Rangers,
Top
Is this
10.
real?
I don't know if I'm in on the
This is
Rangers.
big.
Tampa,
We'll see.
Boston.
Luca, if you were a Canucks fan and you heard this, what would your thoughts be?
Let's face facts, 4 or 5 guys, they're struggling. They're struggling to get emotionally invested in the game, and that's my job to get these guys. Still, certain guys, we got to find another gear from them. This is a game, a sport, the NHL, where you have to be jacked up to play the game. You have to be emotionally in the game, and sometimes the guys takes them like 30 minutes to get in the game for whatever reason.
Listen, it's a long NHL season. I feel like you go through so many ebbs and flows, and this is just a way of laying into your team or sending a message without doing it in maybe a more direct way and saying like, hey, we got to be better at the start of the games. There's 4 or 5 guys. Now, the 4 or 5 guys, I feel like the locker room probably knows who the 4 or 5 guys are, and maybe this gets handled a little more internally now. But if I'm a Canucks fan, like, I don't feel too terrible about that. Like, good teams are going to go through stretches where you don't play well, and like, it's at the end of the day, even though hockey is their job as players, like, life happens. Like, you are not always emotionally invested in what you're doing. The passion's not always there. Sometimes you just need a bit of a wake-up call, and that's all this is, and I think it's a good thing.
Their home record is now weird. I'm just gonna go ahead because like when they played the Panthers, that was like the one game I've watched of them recently. I watched that and the Bruins game. And they look great against the Panthers. And then you're like, wow, whole gang's back together again. Now we get to see who the real Canucks are. Then they play the Bruins, who are, I get it, they're not, they've kind of left the struggle a little bit. They're still kind of like, teetering on not being exactly what you thought. But still, this is a home game for Vancouver. And they got beat. Like, they just got beat by the Bruins, which obviously is even worse if you're a Canucks fan. Again, at home, especially with Brad Marchand scoring the opening goal and going like, riot. Thank you. That happened. Either way, I'm not saying you'd be like, oh my God, concerned because you're still in the fight or whatever. But
For sure.
What's going on with the consistency?
I guess
it's definitely a little bit alarming. Like, in hockey terms, that's about as bad as it gets from a coach, like publicly saying, why does it take you 30 minutes to get into this? And I guess I got to figure out how you can turn on. Like, that's pretty direct.
And I think they know what they're doing too when they like publicly call it, do this to the media, because he can very well have just done this in the locker room after a game, but he chose to do this.
I think this will go, it can obviously go one of 2 ways, but I think this is a good thing overall. Like, after the fact that, okay, this is going to spark them a little bit. This is something that needed to be said that maybe everyone was thinking, and now it's out there. Play some hockey now.
Yeah, well, they got their players back at the very least, so we'll see how the Canucks are doing. We'll check back in with them next time out. I'm going to give this to Thomas, actually. Which Atlantic team has been the biggest disappointment this season? Sabres, Habs, or Red Wings?
Man, like, I wish I could pick all 3, to be honest. It just seems like it's the same. More so for the Sabres and Red Wings. It feels like it's the same old story every single year. I think I'm going to ultimately go Sabres just because they've lost like 10 in a row now. And you mentioned that it felt like they were turning a corner at some point, that they were losing games in better ways when they were losing, and then also like finding ways to win games that in past years they shouldn't have. Like, it seemed like
they're now finding ways to lose. I hate to say it.
It seemed like there was some sort of light at the end of the tunnel for this team.
Looking at Z's face right now, there's no light.
That light is just one big train, and it's absolutely smoked the Buffalo Sabres. They lost 10 in a row right now.
They cleaned our clock.
Yes, your clock is shiny right now.
Z's face just says it all. There's no light. There's no enjoyment. There's just darkness.
There still is enjoyment. The craziest thing is, and I will keep beating the drum on this. I'm new on the Sabres wagon. It was like 3 years of now, like, you know, cheering for this team. And to be honest, it didn't really grow into actually like feeling emotionally invested until the last 2 years. So I'm not going to cry poor like, you know, Sabres fans who've witnessed all 13 of these years. So it's a little bit different. You know, it hasn't gotten to me quite the same. I think what sucks so bad is that you can see that there's a core of players there that it should be working with, and that there's so clearly not a good supporting cast around it. And when you see the amount of talent and the steps that they did take, now when there's just certain players where you're like, again with Cousins, like there's a good player in there. Like I haven't given up on him. There's a good player in there, and I feel like keep him in that core, find a piece around it. Then you watch Tage this year. He comes back and he's just as good as he was 2 years ago again. Like he's just as dynamic of a forward, just as fun to watch. And Dahlin, he's incredible. Is he the top defenseman in the NHL? Like he's being paid? Perhaps not. No, not that all probably. But like he's still elite and he's an incredible defenseman. And then when we added Bowen Byram and you just look at that back end as a whole with Owen Power, you're just like, there's a squad here. And you have two exciting young goalies. All the pieces make sense. It just feels like they're still just missing one or two crucial ones. And it's tough because, like, how could you not want to just blow it all up again in your own mind when you keep hitting the exact same wall, when you're having the exact same results? But it sucks because it just feels like they're not that far off. But the margins are so fine. It's not like they're getting blown out in these games, but they're losing leads that you got to get the lead to lose it at the very least. You know, like there's talent there. It's just I got no idea how to solve it. That's so, yeah.
I think the toughest thing when you're a fan of any team is like you have to have hope, right? Like you have to be like hopeful that your team is gonna like have some sort of success. As a Sabres fan, like at what point do you just start losing hope? It's like
when you bring palm trees to games, and then at first it becomes rumored that you're not allowed to bring palm trees into the games anymore, and then the team has to come out and go, no, we don't care if you bring palm trees to the games, guys. It's funny. Like make fun of us. It's all good. It's like that's where the year has gone.
Honestly.
And it's not even
game
Christmas.
tomorrow.
They have good prospects coming up too, and like that's why I don't know what about goaltending? Like
it's just when you have young goaltending, it's a risk. In my mind, quickest solution would be, and like I don't know where these players don't just grow on trees. If you added a proper second line center with like, or just an experienced second line center, and just another right defenseman with experience, as well as a backup you could actually count on. Those three pieces alone. I get it. Those aren't small, and every team to some degree would probably be looking for something like that, but like that's what they are short of missing in my mind. It's not like, I don't know, they're not looking for like another stud necessarily. It's just something to make it all kind of like fit together because there are great pieces, but I don't know.
And I feel like you're hearing the name Dylan Cousins getting thrown around and trade rumors now, and it's like, okay, is this going to be an exact situation as like a Reinhardt and an Eichel and an O'Reilly? It's like, oh no, like here we go again.
I don't. Yeah, it's dangerous to give up on people when the situation as a whole is bad. Again, I understand the panic though, and yeah, as I said, still new to that panic. Jesse, we'll stick with you for this next one. Is the Rangers' contending window officially closed?
That's a great question. That's how I'll start the tweet.
Good acknowledgement of the question. It's important.
It's important. Like top 16.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say no. Simply, they are a mess right now. There's no denying that. What is going on in New York right now is just beyond me. I can't figure it out. They like maybe their window is just crashing, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's just too much talent on this team to officially say that they're not contenders anymore. And if they can somehow figure it out, I don't know if it's through. I don't know if it would require a coaching change or whatever the hell it's going to be. There is a way that this team could turn it around, get hot going into the playoffs, and still be a good playoff team. They have all of the tools. But what is happening right now in New York is very, very concerning. And like I haven't watched enough Rangers games, but I know their star players aren't playing well. I'm kind of just scratching my head, being like, what's the deal here?
From everything that I've kind of heard and watched, I did actually watch them face the Kings, which we don't talk about the Kings enough.
No, they're good, man.
They're
very good.
So
really
good,
team.
and like they're all. I get it. People don't like defensive hockey necessarily as much, but like the situation it leads to offensively, like they're a fun team to watch as well. And Byfield, he was great in that game. But either way, the Rangers, special teams merchants, apparently, who just don't play that well in 5-on-5. They give up high danger chances all over the place, and Shesterkin usually just covers up the cracks, is seemingly what it's been for a while.
I was just going to say, this is kind of, I mean, when going back to when we called them frauds, like that was that famous kind of chat about that team in that era of
This
it.
guy's glowing because he remembers where he was on that side of the chat.
I remember where I was on that side of the chat, but I think, like, they may have disproven that a little bit with their play in the past couple of years. Like, it's gotten better, but you're right. Like, they do rely so heavily on special teams and goaltending, and if we've learned anything about goaltending in the NHL, it's a hard thing to rely on to be, like, the thing that you can write home about. Like, if you're saying, like, yeah, Shesterkin's going to be amazing, and we know that. Like, goaltending's the hardest thing, I think, to just pencil that in to be like, he's going to be amazing all year, and we can get away with playing not so great in front of him.
So I agree with that, but I also think in the same breath, if you have elite goaltending, you're always a contender.
I agree.
So
I agree with that.
it
'Cause
kind of
he can
swings
just
both
turn
ways.
it on. They can win 10 games in a row because he's saving 20 goals above expected, and their star players just show up a little bit. For sure.
Period here. The Ducks have always been contenders.
The Habs with Carey Price were contenders for a while. So
we were talking about Gibson in the office as well. Like, what's going on there?
Well, we'll save that for another one because we do have to kind of close out the show a little bit here.
That's a good question.
But it's thank you, appreciate it. Good answer. Okay, the last don't think, just tweet. The PWHL is back this week, and after 3 games, rookie Sarah Fillier leads the league in points with 6. Where will she finish in points at the end of the season? Luca, looking at you.
I'm going to say top 5. It's pretty bold for a rookie, but New York looks like a completely different team from last year with the addition of her, and that first line with her, Alex Carpenter and Jesse Eldridge, has just been humming so far. There were high expectations on Fillier. She's been viewed as one of the best players in the women's game for a while now, and especially on Team Canada. Obviously, before coming into the PWHL, she's had great international tournaments with them and been one of their best players. So it's not a surprise that she's doing this, but I think it would be pretty surprising if she finished in the top 5 to end the season. But I'll go with that because that line is just loaded and she's a big, big part of it.
Guys, when are we going to a game together?
Let's go.
We gotta go.
We should go to a
Go
game. I sadly have not been to a PWHL.
No, I have not yet either.
No, you guys. I went a bunch last year when it was at Mattamy at Coke this year. I'm sure even better atmosphere.
Keep calling him Rico.
I know. I miss calling
Coca-Cola's
Rico
cooler name too.
Nah, I kind of liked Rico,
Anyways.
man.
Let's do it in the new year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
do
make
it.
a point.
Let's absolutely
do
it.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Let's do it. All right, and that brings us to our second to last, penultimate segment here. That deserves a crown. Now, this is a pretty special one because this is well deserving of a crown. And who is that? Well, it's the Sens Ebug from the weekend, Zach Dietz. I apologize if I'm getting your name wrong because you're a legend here. There's video of him caught running to the arena with all his gear after the backup goalie, Anton Forsberg. He was injured during warm-ups, so they had to call him in. And his girlfriend saw the tweet, issued a response, not only, verifying that it was really what you were looking at, it was the Ebug just running across the highway there in Ottawa with all his gear. Very beer league moment. Said, Charlie said, LOL, I'm his girlfriend. Slid over into the driver's side when he got out because we were caught in traffic circle and parked his car in the player's lot. Got there 20 minutes after him. Running was indeed faster.
If there's
With your
ever
equipment,
been
too?
a better case to move that rink anywhere else,
Yeah.
you almost didn't have a backup goalie because of traffic to get to your rink.
It seems like there's some backstory that's really angered Luca over here.
He hates
Getting
It's not
to the
even a
ring.
backstory. It's just like this has been the
reality.
talk of the town to move this rink. If there's how not funny, but how crazy would it have been?
He's fired up.
How crazy would it have been if Allmark got hurt and he wasn't there because he was stuck in traffic?
They get the helicopter in.
Yeah.
That's on top.
Wow.
Not the bad.
Legend.
Wild.
Right from the Loretton Flats.
What a legend, though. Running?
That's
and
2
then
crowns. I can't.
playing?
Yeah.
No, that's Trey Kroner.
Yeah.
That's Trey Kroner right
he
there.
Swedish?
Is he Swedish?
Is that a football player?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently.
They played for Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to close things out here with the goal of the week. And for whatever reason, we have decided to allow Thomas to pick this out,
Yep.
which is crazy.
Let me hear
One
you.
of the worst performances in podcast history. By the way, and as, he's looking for this clip here on the laptop to pull out, Also have to mention, we waited 2 weeks, so some of the Senators' takes that you guys had there from the Sens fans in the audience, we did check them out, as you're seeing them right down below as we're going over here. Seems like you guys are pretty level-headed about it, and you're just kind of waiting for things to click a little bit from some of the vets on your team. And you know what? When we had that conversation last, I was like, they'd be hoping for what the Sabres have right now. They're 6 points ahead of them. So things
They're on
change.
a heater. They're in a playoff spot, too.
They're on a heater.
They're in
Going to be a
playoff
tough stretch,
spot.
though, now because they won't be able to play at home for a bit.
True,
Just with the
true.
World Juniors. But
Yeah.
call.
Well,
just
if they
beat
can-
Carolina.
Also, sorry, go ahead, Z.
If they can just keep Brady Tkachuk.
They're also ahead of the Rangers.
Can we just talk about how literally the day after we released our podcast,
That happened.
all the rumors about the Rangers.
was weird.
That was very weird.
You did
Now it's
not.
like-
There's no. I think we. Sorry, I don't even have to preface this.
We didn't
have
start
any
it.
information, and we didn't start it.
We didn't start
Crazy
that.
though that like the
Did the Sens
of the
owner
team,
call out
came
Jesse
out
for
and,
soft
called
tampering?
for tampering, and
Yeah,
that's it's a
Jesse
whole
was
investigation.
tampering.
Yeah, Jesse
Yeah.
stopped tampering.
Mad tamper.
Guilty as charged.
Let's watch this goal of the year.
All right,
'cause
yeah.
I'm
And I deserve a crown for last week's goals of the week.
I don't think
Hey,
that's true.
sorry. So do me a favor and shut up and play the clip.
Okay.
Because that's wrong.
I'll start with this one. I do have 2 nominees, but I'll start with
And our champion. To who is it still? Is it
Crosby.
Leo Carlson.
Crosby
Or no.
still?
Yeah,
in
it's
front of the net
Crosby.
with Dostal?
Yeah.
Didn't Leo Carlson?
No,
get it?
Carlson
No,
did
that
it
was the one
before,
before.
and then
Yeah.
Crosby did
No,
it
no,
after.
no.
Obviously
It's
the guy-
Evan Bouchard.
Oh, yeah, it's
Evan
Evan
It is
Bouchard.
Bouchard. It's
Yeah,
Bouchard.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
Bouchard.
Guys, we're really dialed into this.
Yeah.
Someone needs to clean our
This
clock.
really matters to us.
Yeah, the
Look at those
dial.
shots.
I'm in charge of goal of the week.
That's why it's been a disaster.
No volume.
Okay.
So,
Oh.
boss.
Clapping it on a breakaway is
Rock
always a
star.
boss move.
And the elbow.
The elbow.
elbow's
Wow.
a boss
Is
move.
this, is
So
this the game
boss.
he scored 4?
Rockstar. Yes,
This
it
is
was.
this is like rock star plays. I don't know if I can call this goal of the year by any means.
Look
but
at those shots too. 25 to 11.
Lalonde puzzled.
Apparently, he's an absolute beauty too. Scott Lawn. My buddy met him and said he was.
John Tortorella hates Michigans, but loves clappers
Clapper.
from the slot.
You know what though?
On
Like,
breakaways.
I'm cool with that.
That was an absolute piss
Howitzer.
missile.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Do we have the? I mean, now like we need the speed on the shot. What was it?
Probably 94 miles
gotta
an
be
hour.
I thought it was
94. It's gotta be
104.
I think it was
94.
I think it was
114 miles an
104.
hour.
I heard
124.
130.
I'd heard 134. Yeah.
Yeah, 134.
What's the second goal?
Okay,
'Cause the
second
goal's
goal.
probably going to be the contender.
Oh, okay. I saw this. Here we
Great
are.
defensive
Oh,
play.
good play. Ooh, nice tuck.
It's very nice.
Nice tuck. Not goal of the year.
I looked at another one for Kadri
Yeah, the other one was
jumping
crazy.
over. I don't. The thing is, the finish wasn't as nice. This was a really nice,
Nice finish. Good defensive play.
but like he jumped over somebody and then he just kind of took a shot.
So
But,
those
like,
are the two picks.
the jump was over.
The
Yeah,
champion remains.
I like Scott Lawton.
I like Lawns too.
Do you like it more than
Than
what we
Evan
have?
Bouchard?
though?
No, but it
No.
was
Probably
cool to
not,
look
no.
at for this week.
People wanted us to have the Todd Marchment one.
No, Mason.
Mason
Mason
Marchment,
Marchment, sorry.
yeah.
I'm thinking of Todd Marchand. Yeah, that's even older. But yeah, no. I think you guys didn't even want that in there either.
I didn't. Well, so
I didn't think it was all that.
We
like,
recorded
incredible.
Monday.
It was
It was
great
a great
goal.
goal, but
Great
like
goal.
not all that incredible. And all like if you didn't pick the goalies, it probably would have been a
Yeah,
candidate.
for sure.
Would've been a
It's better
candidate.
than everything he picked.
no, nothing was better than what I picked. But I will say this: we recorded that Monday, and I had set everything up Sunday afternoon, and that goal happened Sunday night. And then I went back to watch it, and I was just like, when everyone was complaining that we missed it, and I was like, this goal's nice, but it's really not like
Direct your hate towards
That
Thomas
nice.
as well as all you're hearing there.
for sure.
And if there are other goals that were missing, let us know.
I'm sure we were there because like
Because
the Lawton one was funny, but like you
You know what?
back on stage,
We wanted Zach.
chucking it up at the Comedy Cellar here with all his picks.
If I watch something and I'm like, that was cool, I'm showing you guys.
We wanted Zach McKeown to be the champ. I'm voting Scott Lawton to be the champ.
I don't like the Bouchard one.
Champs here.
Like, listen, the Bouchard one's nice, but like, I don't know if I'm that comfortable with it still being on top.
Let's put Scott.
So what I'm hearing is you guys are gonna permanently remove me from
No,
doing
no, no.
this.
This
No,
is
no.
I like this bit too.
it's a step up for sure.
That I just suck at picking the goals. of the
No,
week.
you don't suck. It's just someone needs to clean this guy's clock
Yeah.
because it's looking a little dirty when it comes to these picks. Anyone want to vote for Scott Lawton over Evan Bouchard just for fun?
just to keep
Because like
just to keep it fresh.
the Bouchard's not going to win at the end of the year, so
It's
we
not.
might as well freshen it.
I don't know, man. That Bouchard goal was pretty damn nice.
Well,
It's not gonna
vote
win.
vote right now. Who wants Bouchard still in there?
Okay, I'll vote for him too.
Okay, well, then I won't disturb it. If half of us want it, then
Guys, the lawn goal is sick. Well, it was just a clap ball.
Yeah, it's just a slap shot.
but a clap bomb from on
Respect.
a breakaway.
No, respect.
And the elbow?
Big respect. And the elbow celly was pretty sick.
Folks, that brings us to an end here at the BarDown Podcast for this week. As you said, the next one that you're going to see for next week, it's going to be pre-tape where we're just kind of discussing things a little bit more generally, but we're also going to do like a nice fun tier list. So just for some holiday fun. But we'll be back with the actual full podcast in the new year. So I won't say happy holidays and all that just yet because we still have to record the other one. But if you like what you're watching, of course, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. We got a bunch of fun videos coming up. We played a U10 AAA team. We treated it like a broadcast, and it was a lot of fun, is all I can say. And I'm very excited for you guys to watch that, so keep an eye out for it.